Right now, though, we're going to talk about this and other things going on in the city of Vancouver with Kareem Allam, who's a mayoral candidate here in Vancouver. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, Simi.
Now, originally, we were going to talk about rats. We're going to get to rats in just a moment, but because we have this breaking news about the fireworks, I want to get your reaction to that. What do you think?
It's not surprising, given Ken Sim's poor track record in working with community organizers and community events. This is just the most recent in a long list of events that have been canceled since Ken Sim and ABC have come to office. We've lost Dragon Boat. We might lose Symphony at Sunset. We've lost Mural Fest. We lost African Descent Festival. One of the things that's been happening is, despite the 43% increase that he's given to the police are going and charging tens of thousands of dollars more than they have in previous years to police these events. So that's been one cost. The second issue that's been happening is the city, which is cash-strapped, is trying to put some of their budget woes on increasing permit fees on some of these larger event organizers. So I'm really disappointed, but I'm not surprised. This is just the latest in a long string of Ken Sim and ABC mess-ups.
Do you think there's a way to save this if things were done differently?
Well, it's not going to be saved when Ken Sim goes out and announces a zero means zero budget. A zero means zero budget means that there's less money for art and culture and some of these iconic events that we've all enjoyed for so many years here in the city of Vancouver. It's not likely salvageable for this year, but it will be a priority of mine for me to try to bring events back like Mural Fest, like the Symphony of Fire, as well as the Dragon Boat, which has been one of the most iconic cultural events here in the city of Vancouver. The Dragon Boat Society has been in existence for 50 years and is the largest dragon boat regattas in all the world. So these are things that are really disappointing to us. For a mayor who is so concerned with swagger, we should all be extremely upset by this. This is not going to make Vancouver more fun. This is going to make Vancouver less fun.
Now, I know originally this is not why we had you booked, because I actually wanted to talk about rats, because I saw that you had been discussing that this week. And just coincidentally, this year, I feel like I have seen more rats like crossing my path just on my way to work at, 4:00 in the morning than I have ever seen before. And it's come to your attention, too. Why are you talking about rats?
I'm talking about rats because I'm seeing them everywhere. And I've been seeing people posting photos and videos on social media with hundreds of rats just scurrying up the steps of the art gallery, hundreds of rats crossing the concourse at Burrard SkyTrain station. But I'm hearing from business owners and homeowners outside the downtown core that have seen an explosion. But the issue came to my attention really because I was on the downtown east side. I was talking to some homeless people, and I said, if I become mayor, what's the simplest thing I could do to make your life better? And they said to me, it's really hard sleeping on the street without rats. What's happened is in 2021, the province of British Columbia put a temporary ban on rat poison, and in 2023, they made it permanent. One of the things I've learned since I started digging into this issue is a mating pair of rats can produce 100 offspring in a single year. So the explosion of rats has gone out of control. New York recently appointed a rat czar, and they have taken big measurable steps to start to combat that problem. And Mayor Olivia Chow in Toronto has issued a report on what their new rat strategy is. But as people have been complaining about this, particularly restaurants and businesses, crickets from City Hall at Vancouver, I want to raise the profile of the issue because rats are how diseases spread.
Yeah, this is a huge issue. So do you think that we need to have some kind of, is it a strategy with this? Is it even possible to push back against rats? It just seems like that's a wave that's going to keep coming.
Yes, there's a lot of things that New York has done, and there's a lot of things that Toronto is doing that are being very successful. We might need to start increasing garbage pickup at your home rather than once every 2 weeks. We might need to go to once a week. One of the things that New York has done very effectively is when you walk down Granville Street and you see those open-air garbage cans that are emptied out by the city on the street. In New York, they're fully sealed in 1-inch steel containers, and the lids to those garbage cans are hand-activated, similar to what you will see at BC Parks. Here in Vancouver, those garbages are open-air. a rat can live just on the oil of a bag of potato chips for a week. So it doesn't take much food for this. Some of the other things that are happening is the composting programs that we have here in Vancouver are often in open air containers, and people are composting in their homes in handmade wooden containers that the rats are able to access. So we're going to start needing to look at a range of different policies like that. But one of the other things that's happening is the city isn't doing enough to seal the cracks and eliminate the habitat that are happening in city-owned buildings. To me, that's a big concern. But one of the things that's also happened, and I've heard you cover this on your program before, is the coyote incidents and attacks that we've had at Stanley Park and at Pacific Spirit Park. Coyotes have actually been a really important part of the strategy to combat the growth of rat population. So while coyotes have been a nuisance to humans, they've also been a nuisance to rats. So we need a panel of experts to start coming together and building out a Vancouver-specific strategy, because some of the problems New York has, we don't have, and some of the problems we have, New York and Toronto don't have.
Okay, so that's obviously a big deal for a lot of people, but I also wanted to ask you about the budget situation. You just touched on it with the celebration of light cancellation. Do you think we're going to see more of this, given that 0% property tax increase that just got passed this week?
Absolutely. We are going to see cuts to arts grants, which are going to impact more and more of these events, and even some more of those neighborhood events that might not be as big as the celebration of light. We could see reductions in hours at the community centers. We could see reductions at hours at some of our libraries. But more importantly than that, our system already is overburdened. Our community center system is already overburdened. I hear from parents all the time that when summer hits, it's almost impossible to find programming at our community centers for our kids. Parents in Vancouver are sending their kids to community centers in Burnaby and in Richmond, where a generation ago when I was growing up, it was the other way around. So I'm expecting more of these issues. I'm expecting more issues like the Kitts Pool not being able to operate. I'm expecting more issues like the Stanley Park train constantly being broken. When you cut the budgets on these types of things without the thoughtful long-term planning, this is where you end up.
Kareem, thank you so much for your time this morning.